sound better.
Now, let's dive into the processing of the vocal. As I said, I used just a little bit of an effect group with a little reverb and a few delays. I'm going to delete that for now. And we're going to look into what compiles the pop harmonies, because this sounds all over the place. We will start by leveling out everything. So let's start with the processing of the vocal. Now I'm going to start with the doubles. As you've seen, I've already panned a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. That helps to make things more exciting, plus to help things not get stuck in the center of the vocal. It's going to save you some resources when you don't have to use an EQ to make things more clear. So I'm going to drag this doubles group a little bit below because they are already recorded, slightly lower than the main. One more thing, I don't have to use a compressor and an EQ to balance everything. It's recorded nicely and it's already compressed on the input. But we're going to use a little bit of an effect just to show you the actual process of processing the vocal. So I lowered my doubles to a sufficient level throughout the song. They maintain the same pattern. So let me just close them for now. What I'm looking for is just to balance the sounds. Before I start mixing them, I need to balance them at the right level. Let's bring all of those to 0. And let's addition. First, I'm going to drag the whole group down around 6 decibels. There's one backing that I don't like. It's very high. Now I'm going to space those out a little bit. -5. Now I'll give it another 5 on the right. This bass one, I'm going to reduce by another 3 decibels. So let me addition with the vocal, the main vocal. I'm gonna go with -7. It needs to be right under the vocal, just audible and not stealing the shine from the main vocal. Now let me just turn back this one for a last test at around -12 decibels. It's just right at about there. It's good. Now let me take the backing vocals off. We level them out. Let me go to the stacks. Okay. So the stacks are here. Bring them to the 0. The whole thing needs to go down around 9 decibels. Now the high vocal is a little bit too high for me. I'd go around -3. See, now it's not stealing the shine. It's just complementing the main vocal. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a space around -12 and 12 on the right. Now I have another one that is gonna go -6. let me fix the ad-libs. I'm gonna space those a little harder. Minus 25 and 25. And I'm gonna lower that for around minus 12. Generally, whatever has more attack and not much sustain, comparing to that has a lot of sustain and almost no attack. Things like that need to go a little lower. Things that have a lot of sustain, they just need reverb and they can sit at a reasonably higher level than their best. So for ad-libs, you want to go a little lower because they attract a lot of attention because of their nature of how they sound. Is like clicky, poppy sounds that it's like, hey, I'm talking to you. So you have to keep them lower. But somebody who just keeps constantly talking with a lot of sustain in the voice, you can just give them a little reverb and they're out of your way. So let me see what we can do about those. Final thing is the harmonies. Now those are recorded significantly louder. So let me start with around minus 9. I think I'm gonna go with minus 12. And this is gonna be a little more on the right speaker. Plus, it's gonna win a minus 5 dB reduction. That was gonna be a little bit on the left. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a second channel where I'm gonna just delete everything from the first one and from that channel. Therefore, I can keep this one centered at 0. And when the second channel kicks in, one goes a little to the left and the other goes a little to the right. Now, what we have is a perfectly arranged and almost mixed vocal stem. What we have to do to finish the mixing stage and the processing stage is add a little reverb, some EQ, maybe some effects like a doubler or distortion or telephone effect. We're gonna need stuff like that right now. And this is gonna determine the final adjustments of the vocal. Now, one thing that I like to do is keep in mind the main balance between my vocal stem and the instrumental, as you can see here. Just to make sure that when I hear things is a little bit closer to the right balance. Now I'm gonna mute this one. And oh, I'm sorry. And I'm gonna go ahead and start polishing the sound of that. I'm gonna open up my channels. First thing that I want to do is decide the effect for the main vocal. Now for that, use a little bit of a delay. I'm gonna sync it to my BPMs. I'm gonna find a nice delay, I think around 4s or 8s. And a neat little trick that I like to do on Ableton and set my reverb to 100%, my delay 100%. Put it in a group, and then create another vocal chain that I'm gonna name dry. And this one I will name delay. Now I can control how much delay I want on my vocal using this little neat tool right here. So I'm going to leave it the way it is, just for me to hear and find the perfect EQ and timing of the delay. Now, of course, that's a lot. So I'm going to go with force. And I'm going to reduce the feedback so it doesn't get confusing when the delay feedback hits on the second vocal. I want my delay to be audible on that space. A little bit less. And now I'm going to play around with the EQ. I'm going to take off, and I'm going to roll off some lows. I'm going to also roll off the highs. And I'm going to set it around minus 24 decibels. I'm going to give a little bit more high frequency because I want some presence on the delay. Now, the next thing that I want to do is add a little bit of reverb to the vocal, start spacing it out. I'm going to just name it reverb. Of course, that's a lot. I'm going to start with a nice little large vocal bright hall. I want it more luscious. I'm just going to go over around 4 or 5 seconds. And I'm going to drag this to around minus 36 decibels away from the vocal. Maybe minus around 28. Minus 26. That's perfect. One more little effect that I like to use. If you don't have this plugin, I'm pretty sure you can find a very similar one to that. I like to use the waves doubler. And my favorite preset from Dave Pensato vocal. What it does, it creates a few different vocal stems around the vocal. You can see exactly the panning that they use on that one is minus 45, minus 35. It's a beautiful little preset. It gives that little spacey sound. And I'm going to reduce the loudness of the doubler around minus 4 decibels. Name this doubler. And remember, that's the effects that I use on the main vocal. Now, before the processing and after. A few last things. I want to add a roll off on the whole vocal. A little before my effects, I'm going to roll anything below 90 hertz. Now let me start taking care of the doubles. I'm going to start by rolling off a lot of the low end, around 200 hertz. I'm also going to drag this to around minus 7. I'm going to use a little bit of a reverb as an effect reverb. Drag a little back on the mix. Let me drag this down around -9 decibels. Now for the backing group, I'm just gonna start using a little bit of a chorus. I like the chorus effect on that. So I'm gonna grab my favorite Ableton preset chorus. I'm gonna go around 30% on that one. And on top of that, I want to add another doubler. This time it's going to be on the channel. And with another little neat plugin, I just want to increase a little bit of the stereo image. I'm going to add the S1 and I'm going to drag up the width. Around here. Now let me check with the vocal, the main one. So it sounds much better now. Let me move on to the stacks. Now I want to use a lot of delay on that one. I'm going to grab my favorite delay. I'm going to drag it up, set it to 100%. And as previously, I'm just going to include another channel, another chain. It's going to be named dry. And my other chain consists of the delay, so I can control the loudness. Now let me find it. I'm gonna find a nice delay around -12 away from the vocal. Again, I'm gonna roll a little bit off the low end and a little bit of the high end. And on that third stack, I'm gonna add a little bit of that reverb, that crazy effect reverb. So let me check along with the music. Sun have my ad-libs preset right here. And essentially it is tape echo, like a delay from Ableton, tape reverb space, around -20, -16, -12, depending on the situation. Now let's see. Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna go a little lower this one, around -24. Okay. I'm gonna roll off the bass off those voices. Okay. Okay. And a little bit of the high ends. Okay. Okay. Around about there. Now let me mute the harmonies and check on that. I'm gonna go with -6 right now. Sounds right about nice. Now all I have to do is polish the harmonies as well. Let me solo them. Now a little secret for those harmonies is to add a little compressor on the whole group and let them get away from the main vocal. So I'm gonna choose my main vocal from here. I'm gonna turn the ratio to around 4:1, fairly fast release. I'm gonna use the actually the auto release on that one. So every time the main vocal hits, the harmonies back down a few decibels. The next thing that I want to add is a border to get rid of some low frequencies. And essentially, I want to use the same vocal effects as my main. So I'm going to go ahead and copy paste that after my compressor and my EQ. And right here, I can increase the delay. Just something like that. And go around -12 now. Now my reverb. I'm gonna delete the doubler off from that. It's not good to mess around with a lot of doubling. It messes up the stereo field. It's good if you use a little bit, but don't overdo it. Now let me mix it back with the raw vocal. Now let's audition the final result.
Ves, sana, dame sta magia. Ves, sana, dame. Ves, όταν με κοιτάς. Ves, όταν με κοιτάς. Πες το ξανά.